Hi, my name is Cheri. Welcome to my stamp studio. I'm continuing on my sale-a-bration series. Today is also, it's an easy card. It's a coloring card, which I love. I know some people don't love coloring as much as I do, but if you loved coloring when you were little and you haven't done it for a while, you might find that you can fall back in love with it. I find it's a great stress reliever. So today I'm going to show you some coloring techniques with our Stampin' blends, which are an alcohol-based marker. And the stamp set that I'm going to show you, everything in here is free through the end of February, and you can only get it till the end of February. After that, you can never get it again because it's all limited edition. And what I'm going to show you today is the Touch of Ink. And I do have it here. It's just buried. It's this really fun two-step stamp set, and when you see it in the catalog, I mean, the samples are they're okay. They're not as bright and cheery as they could possibly be, and the stamp set itself looks kind of small because it's one of the ones that's free with the $100 purchase. So you might see it and you think that's not the biggest stamp set for a $100 purchase. It's actually, because I don't do things shown at a percent, I need to see them in real life. So when you see it even like this, it looks kind of small. But when you see it used and you see it in real life, they're a lot bigger. So I'm going to show it to you real size as we use it. It is a two-step stamp, but I'm going to use it to color. And my idea for you, if you're starting out with the blends, this is a great stamp set because all I'm going to use, except for some embellishments at the end, is white cardstock and the black memento ink, which is what you need to color with. So if you're building your collection, you could get $100 of blends in all different colors and then use this as a really great stamp set to color in and practice with them. Because when you're first starting out especially, you need giant lines to kind of have all that room to be able to color in. I thought I didn't have all my paper. So I have 2 pieces of basic white. This is gonna be our card. And then we're gonna have a little panel on top. And that's all the cardstock you're going to need. So if you're starting out, just at 1 pack of basic white, and then you can just trim it down to the sizes that you need, and that's perfect. And then we have the memento. So to stamp this one, I have little dimensionals everywhere. I'm going to start with my words first, and so here, this is what I mean. This looks like the words are miniature. This is the word. So there's images shown at 65%. I can't do that in my head. I don't know. I just want to see it real size, but they wouldn't all fit on the cover. So I'm going to stamp my word first, and then that will show me where I want to kind of place everything else on our front panel. So let's do our panel first. So I'm going to put it, you want to make sure you have a nice good coating of ink. And these are photopolymer, so you don't want to put them on and pull it up, because if you do that, sometimes you get a little black smear. So put it on, press firmly, and then just lift up nicely. Because if you pull, sometimes there's a little bit of black that stays. And if you find sometimes that you have black smearies everywhere, it's probably because you're just lifting up a little too fast. So then I'm going to take my hummingbird. But this stamp has the hummingbird and the butterfly, as well as all those flowers and leaves. So there's so many color options, and they're just so big. So it's a great way to learn how to use your blends. So I'm going to put my hummingbird on here. And we have a Stampin' pad that if you don't get great coverage, I just like my videos to look pretty, so I don't use it underneath me. But the more detailed stamps like this, they kind of need it. So see, just lift up nicely. I should do a bad one and show you what that does. Then I'm going to take this group of flowers. It's a really pretty group of flowers, and I've used it before. I have some tutorials up where I've not used it like this. I'm going to ink it, but I'm not going to put the whole thing on here. But I do want it to look like she's kind of getting out of this one. So we'll start with this. I love hummingbirds. I did kind of pull up on that one, and that one does have a little bit of fluffy around it. See, it just has a little bit of spray because I was talking. I find I do it much more often on my videos because I'm doing 2 things at once, which I'm a mom. I can do 50 things at once, but sometimes when I'm on my video, so see, just pull lightly so it doesn't splatter, and then you don't get that effect. And so I just want it to look like she's flying into a bush, and this stamp isn't a bush, so we're just gonna make it be one. So just kind of go wherever you need to place your flowers. like that. And then I'm going to add one more little one right here, but I don't always have to use that big one. See, there's this little one over here. So this time I'm going to ink it up and put it there. So now we've got that nice full flower thing. And then there's one tiny little leaf that I used on my other card. I'm not going to put it on this one. It doesn't need it. I filled it up a little bit more that way. Every time when you stamp something where you're kind of making your own design, it may turn out a little different, and that's fine. I'm going to turn this over so I don't get the back of my card dirty. Now I'm going to take the big leaves and do the same thing where she's going into this little side thing of leaves. So just start up here in the corner. And again, go off my card. This one would really help if I had my pad, but I didn't bring it over. I thought about it before I videoed. I just press hard, and because these are clear, you can kind of see, but sometimes there's just some more of the detailed stamps. The more detailed they are of the photopolymer, the more you really need that little pad. And they're only like $4. They're in the back of the catalog. And sometimes I have it on my desk, and sometimes I just have too much stuff, and I've been working on so many things that I moved it off and I didn't bring it back. So I want these again to do the whole little corner thing. So I'm just going to stamp till I filled my corner. So now we have that fun stuff. Now look at all this stuff to color. So I'm not going to color the whole thing while you're watching, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you each thing and the color choices I made, because I intentionally chose kind of all random colors. That way, whatever you have and whatever you're kind of building, you can make it work, because you don't have to blend like colors. But then I will color it, and you can go to my Instagram later and watch the whole thing being colored on sped up vision, and not have to watch me do it this way. So for the leaves, I chose Granny Apple Green and Shaded Spruce. So let's do one little section of the leaves. So I started with my dark Shaded Spruce. And I used the bullet tip for everything until we get to the very end. So just added some little highlights, and some of them I did more than others. And then I went to my dark Granny Apple. But any two greens, any three greens, if you have a few blends from before when you could buy them individually, you might have some that are not matching. And some of them I just did one. And then I did my light Shaded Spruce, because you want the leaves to kind of look like they're all the same tree, but you know that if the sun hits leaves, they all have a little bit of a different look. And then I blended everything with my light Granny Apple Green. So when you blend it, you kind of smear it around in circles so you get those lines to go away. Let's look at this one right here and just kind of literally blend it. That's where they got their name. And sometimes I leave a little bit of white. I didn't leave a whole lot of white on these because the card itself is all white. So it's a bright card on its own. It doesn't need that little bit of highlight. So I went through and did all of those like that. It's super fun because you can keep layering the color. So then they all looked like that, where they still had a little bit of line. So then I went back, and the ones that needed a tiny bit more, like every other kind of. So some of them were a little bit darker than others. I added it, and then that time I took my light Shaded Spruce and I blended a couple. So like this one, it will be blended with this color. And then I blended the ones next to them. And I squeak when I use my blends. Not everybody does, but when I use my brush tip, I tend to squeak. So then they're the same color, but different. So that's how I did the leaves, and I will do the rest of them so you can see me on Instagram, which is kind of awkward for me to color, guys. So then let's move to the flowers, because you could use any combination of flowers that you want your flowers to be. So I went with these. I have dark mango. with it, I just colored in, we'll do this one right here. I colored in that little center yellow part. And then I never really went back to that. That was all I did. And then I have my dark and light magenta. And this is just the brush tip. So I'm gonna add, this is a really hot pink. So I just added a few little dabs of the hot pink. That's a little bud there. And then I have my dark and light flirty flamingo. And these colors don't necessarily match, but on flowers, sometimes in nature, they're just all bright like this too. And so on this one, I kind of just outlined some petals. And this one, I mean, this is just a really fun set. See how much space there is for you to kind of practice with. And then I took my light petal pink. This time I switched it up and I did light first, because it is pretty light. And for this, I kind of just blended those around and laid that color down. But see, it still has those lines, and you never want those lines when you're finished. You want those all to disappear. And then I added my light flamingo. And because all the flowers are different, you can kind of do each one a little bit different. So all the flowers are a little bit different, but you know how flowers kind of graduate the color out. So I wanted that base down there of that light. And then I don't know that I ever even used that magenta. I think I just had it there. And then this is my dark petal pink, which is really more of an orange, kind of a peachy color. And this is where we kind of lose those lines. So that's your flower. And then this one I have kind of lost some of it, and they do dry a little bit lighter, but I lost a little bit of yellow, so I could go back and color that in. So that is my flowers. And then for my hummingbird, I love hummingbirds. We have a pool and we have flowers out by the pool, and they're just they're my work partners out in the summer. They come and they flit, but we plant the same flowers out there every year, and so every year they come and they stay. And they land, because at first, you know, it takes them a while before they trust you enough to land, but ours come back every year, and I love them. I love the colors. I love that they're iridescent. They look like they're coated with the Champagne Mist shimmer paint. So that is one thing that I added. So for this, I started with my brush tip, and this is Granite Gray. So I just gave her a whole little body, just a real quick coat of the Granite Gray. So her whole body is this, and then I went and worked on her feathers, and then we'll blend it with this at the end. So these two colors don't match. I just picked a couple of blues that would be some blue colors. So I have dark balmy blue, and gave her some colors on her wings. And then this is Peacock, which will be going away. So if you want any of the blends that are the outgoing in colors, this is your last time to get them. And on this, I tried to stay kind of in some of the lines. And then I have the Heather, dark and light, for just whichever other part. So we'll do her little body in the Heather. I'm gonna do both of those because I ended up adding some red. And then I have dark and light blackberry. And we'll get this part here with that. And then they almost have that, the little touches of red. Like, they don't have a lot, but I know just from them landing there and looking at me, at least the ones here in the Midwest. So I just added some like dots of the red just so it would glisten. And then we're gonna blend it with the light granite that we've already added. You're gonna get to see the whole one of this, because you don't have to blend. That's one of the reasons I think this is just a really big giant thing, and you could even play with colors that you don't want her to end up being. But you could just stamp the butterfly or stamp the bunch of flowers, stamp the hummingbird, and just play with them and just stamp a whole sheet, mix colors, use different colors as your blend. because you don't have to, I'm not blending with the colors that I stamped with. I'm blending with a different one. But it's a great opportunity, and it's a, I mean, it's a beautiful set anyways. The card's going to be super pretty. The other card I made with this doesn't look anything like this. I didn't even color it in. Maybe I did. I don't think I used blends, so I don't remember. It was in my quick card series, so I know it didn't take this long. And then to kind of lighten her back up, because she is that gray, this is our color blender, color lifter, and it takes some of the color back out. So I'm just gonna go right in here and lift some of that back out. And just pull some out of some of her wings. You can see where it just kind of strips that color away. And again, this is another easy set because it's got those lines in there where you can kind of see it at work. So there's that. So I'm going to go back and I will color the rest of the leaves and the flowers, and I'll do it up here. So if you want to go back later on Instagram and watch, you'll be able to see how I did it, but at a much faster pace. And then we'll come back and we'll finish the card all up. Those are all colored. Isn't that pretty? And then the nice thing about the blends and a really pretty thing like this is that you could do it and make a really nice framed piece too. So now what's really going to set this off is we are going to add our sky. And the other nice thing about blends is that when you have them, you have whatever color blend you have that color of cardstock. So I know that like on my many messages video, I have several videos where I start with white cardstock and I color it like this. And by the end, you don't even know that that's not the color of cardstock that I've used. So this is our soft sky. And when you're going to do it around something like this, then you obviously want a light color because I am going right up into the edges. And this one was not soft sky, pool party. Soft sky dates me. That's an older color that we had, but it's standing in for the sky. So I'm just kind of filling that in. But when it's on here, then it just does make it look like a sky background, and it also makes it look like I maybe used pool party cardstock. It's way easier than sponging. You don't have to mask anything off, and you can go right up into the edges because this is a light color. If I was doing it with a darker color, you'd have to be a bit more careful. But see how nicely that sets that off? I'm going to take it over here, and now it's going to just really match these two things up and marry them. So pretty. So I have a couple of classes right now. I have a mini class that is also good if you are a newer stamper because it doesn't need any big shot. It doesn't, or any kind of die cut machine. It doesn't need any punches, and it's with the Berry class. It's very inexpensive. It includes the stamp set and shipping. You just need a few stamp pad colors. So that's going on, and my chicken class is about ready to, registration's about ready to close on that. So I'll put the links to those down there. But the Berry one has very limited space in it. Isn't that beautiful? Because I'm using the free sets that I got. That's how I'm able to give you the class so inexpensively. So when I'm out of those, then the class has to close. So now I'm just gonna, you don't want to really mount any other color. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put that behind it. I thought about sticking, a colored cardstock behind there, but I wanted the flowers to really look like they were part of that. This is why you always use some scrap paper behind you when you color with your blends, because you can see it went right through that paper. You want it on the scrap paper because the more ink you lay down, it has to go somewhere. It can't all stay in that paper. I'm going to kind of mount it over to the side to give our leaves as much room as possible. Everything doesn't have to be centered. And then I am going to take our Champagne Mist Shimmer Paint, and you can use any paintbrush. I have an empty Wink of Stella. Well, I did, but now I've lost it in all the zillions of blends. Here it is on my desk. And just give my little hummingbird that iridescence that real hummingbirds do have. Now with this, I don't want to paint on top of the black ink because I'm going to add enough that it would cover it up. So just right over the top of, in between the lines. And go to my website and I'll put some close-up pictures of this, and then you'll really be able to see how it looks. Well, I got on top of the lines because, I'm doing it from far away and I have my glasses on, which usually when I stamp and I'm not on video, I take my glasses off. But there, now she's got that nice little sparkle. And then one last, I almost didn't put any embellishments on, but that's like not a thing. She does need a tiny bit more. Missed that part right there. Sometimes, you know, I have to make myself stop, especially because sometimes when I go to take a picture, I want to fix my cards after I filmed them, and I'm like, no, leave it just the way it was. These are our elegant faceted gems, and I'm just going to use the clear ones. It just gives that little bit more bit of sparkle. So I'm just going to put 3, put a big one there, and 2 little ones, just so that is a nice little embellishment without taking anything away from all that color. So that's kind of how you color. Here's my one over here that's had a little bit more time to dry. So you can see the flowers have lightened up. My little hummingbird's lightened up. She has less flowers because of the way I started, so I was able to fit that tiny little, whoops, leaf on there. The pool party lightens up a little bit because it does dry a little bit lighter. So there you go. The other thing is, if you do have quite a few blends, it always takes me back to my Crayola days. I've loved coloring forever, but who remembers taking every last marker that you have, maybe on a snow day, because it's snowing a lot here, and you just ran the thing through when you had like a coffee can full of Crayolas, and it was time to go through them and throw out all your dry ones. When I was coloring with my light granny apple green, it needs to be replaced. So celebration's a good time to stock up on refills and cardstock you're almost out of, but also check your blends, because if any of them are dry, you might as well recheck all of your collection now while you can get $50 and spend $50 and get something free. So I hope you enjoy this, and I have a couple of more of the celebration things before I'll move back on to some upcoming class samples or class, I don't know what the word is, class previews of stamp sets we'll be using in the future. Everybody have a great day. Stay warm wherever you are. Bye.